Hey, everyone, or everyone later. I am so disappointed. I do not know what's happening with YouTube, and it's making me very distressed. I've been ready for you all since 8:25. 8:25, I've been ready for you all. I had background music and everything, but that's all right. We are here right now. I am Tikisha-Michelle of Education Inside Out, and I'm fumbling because I'm frustrated, but I'm going to calm down because I am ready to share some very helpful information with you. And we're going to jump right in. I really had, oh my goodness, I had so much prepared for you all. I mean, I still do, but the even better of it as we continue to grow parenting possibilities with Tikisha-Michelle. So let's get started. Let's jump right in. And if you happen to miss it because you timed in at 8:30 and I wasn't here, I do apologize, but here we go. So let me tell you a little bit about Parenting Possibilities. Parenting Possibilities is we're a show, I guess we'll call it, here on YouTube, and we're talking about your children who are your possibilities. And we're also asking that what if question. So some possibilities for parents. It's been, gosh, Education Inside Out started 10 years ago, and we have been talking about different ways to help families as parent advocates. And I want to share a little bit more with you as we move forward. All right, so here we go. And make sure that you go and you check out our webpage is eduinsideout.org. You probably can see it there behind me. That's www.edu.org. And you can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, and you can even find us on Instagram. We are kind of everywhere. And it's just all about sharing the information with parents so to empower them to make sure that their children are have a better opportunity at being successful when it comes to education. All right. So tonight's topic, I'm going to tell you about it because last week we talked about FaceTime, and the week before we talked about FaceTime. We were talking about how much time children were spending on screen time. I was going to say on the internet. So we were talking about how much time children are spending. Well, had to look at that a little, especially after going to different stores and traveling to different places around town and in restaurants and all. And I apologize for that change. I just needed to make sure it was bright enough. And I was able to see children doing things that they probably had no business, and parents were in their phones. They were on their own devices. So it's been a pretty big deal talking about how children, and we always do, people are always talking about the screen time for children. And don't get me wrong, that's very important. It's something for us to pay a lot of attention to because our children need some more time than just on the screen. But parents, I want to talk to you tonight, today, whenever you happen to chime in. I want to ask you, what is it, or how much time are you spending in front of your screen? So I'm going to share just a little bit. So this week's Parenting Possibilities is talking about parents and their screen time. But let me ask you, I don't know how many of you are about my age, and I don't know, I asked my husband this question, and he said it wasn't something that happened to him, but it happened to me. We had the phone with the long cord on it in our house. My mom talked all over that house, and we would try to talk to her, and she would give us some attention, and then she'd go back to her phone call. And I mean, I say that jokingly, but we didn't think it was funny back then. We wanted her attention, but she was in the midst of a phone call, and it was good. You knew it was good when she said, "Ooh, girl." So that's what happened in my household. And then I have to say, then we got the cordless phones. That was a really big deal. If you had a cordless phone, you were really jamming, I guess I'll say. But then, I had my own children, and I realized that I was doing the same thing. As I think back, I mean, I didn't think about it then, of course. I just knew that my mom did it and I did it, and you were still able to pay attention to your children until you heard something fall, or someone fall, or you heard something drop, or you heard something spill. And you thought, oh my goodness, I wasn't even paying attention because you were so deep into your telephone conversation. It's as bad, if not worse, when it comes to screen time. Now, you don't have to answer. Don't tell me right now. Don't tell me right now. But how many of you are on screen time even when you're driving down the street? Are you still looking at your phone when you're driving down the road? Even more than for just a text message. I mean, that's bad all by itself. Don't get me wrong. Text messages and phone calls, that's distracting when you're driving. But how many of you, be honest with yourself, how many of you have spent time on social media of some sort or looking at pictures while driving? I have a daughter who fusses at me if I look for a text. So I always hear her, even when she's away at school and she's not in the car with me. I'm still like, oh gosh, I hear her say, Mom, you don't need to look at that right now. Even though, of course, I believe I do. But I want to direct you to, there's a New York Times article, and I'm going to grab these glasses, and I hope it doesn't create a glare for you. I apologize if it does, but the New York Times in May 2019, it talked about how parents' use has increased. Parents' screen time has increased, and the amount of time that teens are spending on or in screen time or using screen time has decreased since 2016. Again, this report was done in 2019. The research was done in 2018, and they had begun this research in 2016. And what they found was that ultimately the teens became more cognizant of their actions, and parents watching their children not really paying much attention to what it was that they were doing didn't. So I ask you, what are you doing when your children are engaging in activities and you're on the phone or you're surfing social media? Who's paying them some attention? Parents' usage increased from 39 to 50%. And the teens' usage dropped. And you can check that out in that New York Times article, which I'll share it below after the close of this video. I say video, this episode. Just stay with me as we grow parenting possibilities with Tikisha-Michelle. Now, let me continue on. I want to share a bit more with you. I was looking at some other research in what's called New Age Parents, and it's an online resource, and you can check that out also, and I'll have that link below. But it's called New Age Parents, and a couple of the drawbacks to parents being so involved or so wrapped up in screen time is social awkwardness for their children. Because children learn their social cues from their parents. Did y'all know that? Children learn their social cues from their parents. Ooh. So if you are on the phone, if you are curled up on the sofa, and I can't even tell you about why I know this. If you are curled up on the sofa with your phone in front of you, and I'm going to, let me see if I can make it so that you can see this. And I have my phone here, and I sit and I'm on the sofa, and I am looking at my phone. Even if my child is just over in the other room or in the chair just away from me, but I'm scrolling. How much attention am I paying them? I'm teaching them another deficit that they can acquire, and that's short attention span. What, huh? And then they lose it. Why? Because they have learned to not pay attention from watching you. And then we get mad. Why aren't you listening? Why aren't you doing what I asked you to do? We get mad. But they're learning it from us, mom and dad. We are the ones who are giving them their cues. They're learning from us. There's another article that I was reading in the Atlantic where it talks about how moms now have more time with their children, but they're less attentive. Less attentive. They have more time, but they're not paying as much attention. What do you think about that? There is one other, and this one's still the Atlantic, and it talks about the vocal patterns of parents tend to adopt during their exchanges with their children and toddlers are marked by a high-pitched tone. And it talks about how when parents talk to their children, and then it goes on to talk about how that lack of interaction decreases their speech and their responsive speech style. All of this can be found in the Atlantic. And again, I will share that link with you. So it's all over. I didn't make this up. I see it every day. I see it when I go in the store. I see it when I see people. Oh my goodness. It makes me so frustrated. And I'm happy that I didn't get a chance to do this so much to raise my children this way. But parents sitting in a car doing that same scrolling on the phone while sitting in the driver's seat, while their child or children sit in the back seat, either climbing over the seats, strapped into a car seat, but nobody's listening to them. Nobody's communicating with them. What's happening? Why is it that we are having to respond to these situations when all is necessary is for parents to actively be engaged or to be actively engaged with their children? They're your children. They want you. They're waiting for you to pay attention. And I'm telling you, I know, because my mom, it was a telephone thing for her. It's worse now because not only do you have the internet at your fingertips, you're on the phone, you're in your hand, you're doing every other thing, especially if you have one of those high-tech houses where you're touching and spinning and moving. I mean, it does teach your child some techie things. But what else is it teaching your child? How much time are you investing into your children so that teachers are able to invest time in academics and not behavior? When you read any of these articles, you'll also find that behavior is impacted at school when parents are not as attentive with their children, especially due to screen time. Do y'all know, and I want to wrap up because my time is up. How many children and parents go to bed with the screen in front of them, or like with 5 minutes? So they'll be on their screen and they'll go to bed. Do you know the stimulation that's happening? I know I had a student who told me how much time he spent on his device and then he went to sleep with the device on his chest. Do you know the radioactivity that was going into that baby? Where was your mom? I asked. I don't know. She was in the other room. She was probably on her device as well. What is happening to our children? Thank you, Beverly. Yes, that is so true. I encourage you, parents, please pay closer attention. As I close, adult screen time is helpful with parameters for work and for life, but it's detrimental for the growth and the behavior of the children. Your children are your possibilities. What will they become if screen time raises them or distracts you? What if you invested the same time and energy to your children that you do surfing the net? Now, I ask you, does this make sense or does it make you mad? Let me know right here on YouTube. You can send me a message or a post on in my email, which is more to educate at gmail.com. You can see it there. You can send me a message on our Facebook page, which is Education Inside Out. You can shoot me a message on Instagram at Tikisha-Michelle _EIO. There's so many different ways that you can share your thoughts and your opinions. And I don't have a problem with it because the more we talk about it, the more someone's going to pay attention, the more that mom is going to make sure that the TV doesn't fall on her child because she's actually paying attention, not because she's cooking in the kitchen, but because she's on her phone. Or that dad. I'm not excusing dads. I'm talking about dads too. But my objective is to let you know that your possibilities are waiting for you to give them that attention and that instruction in that direction. Okay. Parenting Possibilities with Tikisha-Michelle. Check me out. You can see all of my information behind me. And if you have any questions, just let me know and you can leave a message right here. Again, I am Tikisha-Michelle of Education Inside Out, and I look forward to hearing from you very, very soon. Thank you for watching Parenting Possibilities with Tikisha-Michelle. Goodbye.